When it comes to achieving the perfect fit, it's about more than what you wear. Getting your grooming right is essential, starting with the perfect shave. And in case you're wondering why I still have some stubble today, it's because I'm leaving that job to the experts here at Blind Barber at Barney. Senior barber Matt Southerland is my grooming guide, taking me through some basic tips every man can use at home. I was feeling positively relaxed and refreshed.
Now we're gonna use a cold towel, cold lavender towel.
And finally, an application of soothing aftershave balm.
The first time Matthew started cutting hair was when he was probably 17 or 18 years old.
After my mom had divorced my dad, I went to the bathroom and I just noticed his clipper bag. So I just kept it.
It started out in the house with a group of friends.
I was cutting my friend's hair. I cut like his cousin's hair.
I had once told Matt, if you think this is what you're going to want to do in life, then you might as well go and try to see if you want to be a barber. And I found this very tiny, small ad. A barber was looking for an apprentice.
I ended up going to this barber shop.
The guy wanted to apprentice him, so that's how Matt started out.
I first noticed this intersection between music and barbering after a photo shoot, actually. One of my friends is a photographer, and he was doing this project about black men and fashion. When he sent me the photos back, it said, Matt Southerland, barber-musician. And I was like, I am a barber-musician. I started just noticing other friends of mine that were barbers and musicians. I had a friend named Jeremy that is a DJ.
Yeah, I wondered what you're doing the rest of the week. Sleeping, making music.
Playing around with bass and guitar at the same time, and I continued to do that, 30-something years later. At a certain point, I was like, I don't want to get in a 15-passenger van anymore, but I want to, I still love playing, but I still want to take it that far. So what am I going to do now? Because I didn't go to college, I have no skill, so it's a great way to do something because it's a trade school, right? You can go in 9 months or 10 months, you have a skill that you can go out and almost immediately start working.
There were other musicians. They had either an affiliation with barbering, like Nas and Bevel, or Killer Mike and the Swag, or they used to be barbers. George Clinton was a barber.
I owned the shop.
Swiss Beats was a barber.
Cutting hair in a barber shop. I was the youngest barber cutting hair. So I would do a haircut, give you a design in the back.
Okay.
And sell you a mixtape.
Kanye West was a barber.
I cut hair for a living back, 14, 15. Do that to buy clothes and also to buy music equipment.
Elvis was spotted cutting hair. I don't know if he was a licensed barber, but he looks like a pro. He's holding the comb and the scissors the right way. He definitely looks like a barber to me. this needs to be like known. We're a whole like world of people. You need to be in touch with your creative side. You need to be able to create a hairstyle. To be a musician, you need to be creative in the way that you want to convey the musical message.
To me, I definitely see a link between music and barbering.
I love that city life and I still love suburbia.
Music is so important to the vibe of a barbershop that you step in.
Let's get it poppin' out in Poland where my grandma's family from. Old city crack,
I heard a bunch of new music at the barbershop. Used to ride my bike over, probably 12, 13 years old, and they would just have great albums that I knew nothing about. That's how I probably got turned on to a lot of music, Fabulous and 50 Cent. First time I heard Get Rich or Die Trying was in the barbershop.
Chimichurri on the steak, got rice like Condoleezza.
People get comfortable when you're cutting their hair because you know you're doing a service for them, you're taking care of them. You're keeping them fresh out here. 3 haircuts in 1 month.
Probably when he was about 3 years old, Matt's dad taught him how to sing, so all the brothers would sing in church. He would just try to get up front in front of everybody and just sing the loudest.
When I got into music, I was 17 and there was, like a weekend rock scene, it seemed like. It was called Spanky's. It was like a sandwich place, but it was like a bar as well. Downstairs, they had a really small basement with a stage. It was just like a bunch of like metalhead, punk, goth kids having fun, just loving like the music. And then there was definitely like the party element. The drinking and the drugs. I just like watched this band play and I was like, I want to do that. At the time, I was really wanting to play guitar, but I was just having a difficult time learning guitar. Eventually, I just got the nerve up to like start singing. And I remember I used to sing Master of Puppets by Metallica. I would sing it over and over and over again. After a while, I was like, man, like, I sound pretty good. I felt confident enough to just put it out there one day at a band practice. A few of my friends and I decided that we wanted to start a band. I thought I was gonna be playing guitar, but there was this one guitarist that was out of this world. He was amazing. Eventually, I just gathered up the nerve to start singing. And I think like naturally after that, everyone was just like, whoa, like you're awesome. Like you can really sing.
Killswitch Engaged has decided to part ways with singer Howard Jones. Quote, he has left big shoes to fill, so we certainly have our work cut out for us to find the next singer of Killswitch, something we plan on making priority #1 going forward.
I've been cutting my own hair since I was 8. My father went to barber school and he was a hairdresser in the 60s. There's something about it, the sculpting of the skull and the face. Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. I also used to cut hair in my neighborhood back in the day, charge kids like $5. But just not professionally at all, just doing fades. So it was natural for me to get into some kind of a cosmetic, and when the beard oil company fell in my lap, I'm like, this is perfect. It's like men's mental health as well. So I was like, this is a cool marriage of the two things, mental health awareness and taking care of your beard. It was like perfect.
The first stage I ever walked on was at the City Armory in Lynchburg. It was put on by my pediatrician. I was 17 still, so I still had a pediatrician. He and some other people put this show on, and I think it was like a anti-drug show. Kind of ironic because like me and my friends were big into like smoking weed and drinking. And then there was like another band of friends that we knew and they were the same, just big partiers as well. They weren't really creating a sound as heavy as we were. And then I also felt this sense of just wanting to belong. I identified with the artists that were like actually out there touring, and I felt like they were saying something to the rest of the world. I wanted to do the same because I felt like I had that same desire to put something out there. In the beginning, she didn't like my music.
Oh, the first band that Matthew was in, I knew that there was a lot of drinking going on and black wear clothing and a lot of loud craziness going on. I wasn't too much in favor of that. I saw Matt being the person that I didn't think Matt was at that particular time. But it was all something where he was, I think, just acting out, feeling that he was free from all the abuse that had happened.
When I think of music as a child, and I think of the life that I lived as a child, it's such a contrast.
A lot was going on in the home back then, a lot of violence, abuse.
I remember my dad slapping my mom. And I remember my siblings and I ran to the bathroom and grabbed a bunch of toilet paper so she could wipe her nose. Her nose was bleeding. That's the most vivid memory that I have, in life, period.
I think the worst abuse that Matt saw was when his father would beat me. He didn't know how to help his own mom. Then he was watching his brothers being beat or assaulted by their father.
She felt very differently than I did, understandably, when my dad passed away. I was super devastated because I wanted to get back into his life eventually.
Anything that they enjoyed, he would take from them. They had nothing after a while because they didn't have the art, he didn't have the music. So basically they were allowed to be in four walls and look at each other and hope that somebody could come up with some type of an idea of how to have some type of fun to relieve the stress of the household.
This was my mom and dad. She put the divorce thing on there. But my dad had schizophrenia, and that stemmed from his childhood.
Matthew's dad actually was brought up in a similar type of household where his dad emulated everything that his father did. Probably back in 1973, his father woke up in the middle of the night and had me get all the kids up saying that somebody was coming to the apartment in New York to get us. So he told me to pack everything up and get the kids ready. We were going to take the train to Lynchburg, Virginia. On the train, he just started talking all these numbers and adding numbers up and then subtracting numbers off. And that's where I first got the idea that something just wasn't right. And it's like I was just seeing all this play out and not really understanding at the moment what was really happening until later that evening after we arrived in Lynchburg, when he just had a full-fledged mental breakdown. He didn't want the doctor's help. He didn't want my help. He didn't want anybody's help. He just kind of thought, well, I don't need to take this medication, and nothing was wrong with him. Something was wrong with everybody else. If he was in the house, we walked on eggshells, just hoping that we were stepping the right way, doing the right thing, just so that we didn't upset him to the point to where he'd want to pick up something and fire or beat us or do whatever.
Eventually with Neo Eve, the guitarist ended up wanting to leave the band. With him leaving the band just ended. Probably several months after that, I joined another band. That was 11th Hour. Around that time in my life, I had just gotten back into partying, and I was into the rave scene, gotten into some of the rave drugs. I was kind of in another world.
By now, we were a single-parent household.
During this time, my brother passed away, my oldest brother, Lorenzo. Who got beat the most?
Probably Matthew's oldest brother. He was the one who received the most wrath of his father. If anything happened in the house, it was always Junior that he went to. He hated Junior more than the others for some reason. I don't know.
There was something in cocaine that he was using, and it killed him.
Junior was extremely smart. By the time he graduated at 16 years old, unbeknownst to me, he was already using mild drugs.
He was 33 when he passed away.
By the time he graduated from school, he ran away. And once he ran away, his father wouldn't let him come back. And that led to Junior going into a life of drugs. One day I got a phone call from the police department in New Jersey saying that he had died from a drug overdose.
It devastated my whole family.
I mean, it hurt everybody. Everybody was at a loss as to why would this have happened to begin with.
After he passed, it was just kind of like the lesson. It was like, see what happens like when you do drugs, basically. And my mom would always just kind of like stress that.
But I'd want to think that Junior's death would have the impact on Matthew of how not to live your life.
I had a bad experience. I think someone just put too much acid in the sugar cubes. It was like a seriously difficult trip, and I'd found myself in that situation a couple times before then, but this time was like the worst.
And Matt was just slowly but surely going totally overboard until one day I felt like Matt really was going overboard. I had a very scary feeling that had not something straightened out quickly, that Matt probably would have committed a suicide. That worried me greatly. Slowly but surely, Matt came around more to being himself and becoming more interested in life than being in the street level of life.
When I got really deep into Christianity, I really started to like put myself out there as, you know, I'm doing this for God, I'm doing this for the lost souls. I was really devout with it. I was really studious and like always diving deep into the Bible. And there was this band that was in Lynchburg, and they were actually going on tour, and they were like making a name for themselves. And they were called Ghost of a Fallen Age, and they were known as like a Christian band that wasn't like being like preachy. Their vocalist left. I ended up joining the band. I went on tour with them, and while I was on tour, I just didn't feel close to any of the guys. One of the guys was just like, yeah, you didn't like represent God great last night, and it was just like, everyone was doing like the same thing. I felt like I was kind of being singled out. I think it's because I had like just joined the band, and I was also the front man, and I had some experiences at church that led me to decide that I didn't want to be a part of the religion, and I didn't want to be a part of a body of people that I felt were judgmental toward me. They didn't really practice what they preached. It felt like it was kind of like a show. Eventually, I just found my way out of practicing that religion, trying to live a life that represents the example of this person that walked this planet and truly had no judgment and truly was accepting of everyone. Years after I separated myself from the religion, I was just exposed to more open spirituality. I had just started Bad Citizen during this time. And then I discovered through a neighbor of mine that lived above me, he was a saxophonist, and he was a Buddhist. He asked me if I would want to go to a Buddhist class with him one day. I was open to do it, so I went. It was called Nichiren Buddhism, and it all revolves around this chant. You just say it over and over and over again in front of this. It's basically like a shrine that represents your inner self. You open this box and you just start chanting. And while you're doing it, you're having these thoughts of the desires that you want to put out into the world. I feel like by the time I got into my late 30s is when I did start to practice mindfulness and meditation. That really saved my life. It just gave me a sense of control. I didn't have to like excessively drink. In my 11th year of being a barber, I decided to go to cosmetology school.
I've watched him come from an apprentice to going to cosmetology school.
I ended up going to the Aveda Institute and I learned about the founder of Aveda. His name was Horst Rechelbacher. He started a product line called Aveda after going to India. I just thought it was really cool. But after I graduated, I was just like, I would love to start a product line and, you know, just do it in my own way. I just started working at the first like high-end premium barbershop in Brooklyn. It's called Persons of Interest. I was one of the founding barbers there. We had a hair product line that we were working with, but we didn't have any shaving products. At the time, I was like really into like shaving and beards, so I just felt like it was the opportune time to start a product line. I came up with a brand called Civil Grooming. This political cartoon just came into my mind, and it was like the guy with like the big long like revolver. And then there was another guy at the end of it sticking his finger inside the barrel of it and smiling, and a little cloud phrase, and it said, "Let's be civil about this." I kind of feel like that'd be like a good tagline. I did a trademark search for potential conflicts that may happen in the future, and gent was just way too generic. Instead of using that, I was like, all right, it's back to the drawing board. In different ads, I would see billboards. A lot of the time, the name of the brand was in the tagline. And so I was like, oh, well, let me try Civil Grooming. Let's be civil about this. It just stuck. The owner of the shop, he loved my idea. He was like, yeah, let's do this. When the pandemic hit, barbershops were closed. Looked around the world and I saw like people were suffering because like people didn't have human touch. People were going without haircuts. And the first product I thought would be good to be a hand cream. I just thought it would like give people some hope, like through personal care. I had a couple friends that were interested in helping me bring the line back. We got the products back into production. Those friends, they just became like really busy. I wanted to keep it going, so I just met Christina. We ended up moving to Tampa. Once we moved to Tampa, I was just focused on just getting established as a barber. And it took me some time to do that, but after I was established, I went out on my own and opened my own private studio, and it was called Civil Grooming Studio. I have a client friend, and his name is Walter Scott, and he took interest in wanting to partner with me, and he became my partner for the product line.
No, I like the band.
I think she liked Bad Citizen because there was more melodic singing. I think it was more palatable to her than the music I used to do.
I just think that Matt has got more to his voice, to be singing on his own as opposed to always singing with a group in his band.
Thank y'all for coming out tonight. We're Bad Citizen.
I think he'd find something new about himself that probably he didn't realize before.
Without the pain, there would be no art. Some days I pray for a quieter heart. These thoughts, they crash into my skull like cannonballs and pour inside my soul like some waterfalls. So you want a lot off the top? I want to make hot songs. I want to make you dance. I want to make you feel shit. I want to make you happy, sad, all that in between. But while I'm doing it, I want to say things that mean something to me, you know what I mean? Like, I just did the Chasing Ghosts rap. What's the definition of good and evil? That was natural, man. Like, we were making that song, and I was making it with a couple friends, Matt and Joe. We were right in that room. Do we care about the people? I met him in the studio with one of my producers and good friends, James. Then he had come back a couple months later, you know, right now. He says to me, "Do you know any good hairdressers?" And I was like, "Take a seat." I make music and I barber because I can make the people around me fresh. That's why I barber. I make music because I have things inside me that God gave me to say that I say. You know, God gave me a good voice. But, you know, there's links through music and barbering all in my life. You know, we met in the studio and now I'm sitting here cutting his hair for a documentary about music and barbering.
Matt seems to be the only one that I can explain how I want to have my hair cut. By the time he finishes cutting my hair, it will be to my liking, which it always is. See, Matt is the best.
Why were you crying?
Because of everything that has gone on. But then when I look at the achievements of Matthew and his siblings, they had to go through such hardships growing up. And I guess it's like we've just all become the type of people that take our hurts and turn them into, we take the ashes and turn them into roses. Because that's the best we can do.
My sister texted my siblings and I. She said that my mom was asleep and she was comfortable. And at that moment I was like, does that mean that she died? 30 minutes after that, my sister called me. And I knew what the call was about. I knew that she had died. I told her I'd be there. I'd see her tomorrow. I remember just like trying to keep it together on the way home. I wanted to like break down really hard, but I also didn't want to like scare my daughter. Christina opened the door. I told her like she's gone. And then Christina was like, "I'm so sorry." And she like, you know, was crying and hugging me. Camilla, my daughter, she was like, "Papa, are you okay?" And I told her I was sad, and she was like, "It's okay, Papa." Like, she knew that my mom had been sick, and she and Christina went with me one last time, 2 weeks before she passed. And I arrived the next day in Virginia. We were all so grateful that my mom wasn't suffering anymore. She got to see me fulfill my happiness. I'm grateful that she did, because that's like all she wanted in life, you know? Like, she wanted us to be happy and she wanted us to live fulfilled lives. So yeah, that means the world to me. To express my deepest, utmost gratitude for each and every one of you. I just also right now want to express my deepest gratitude to my mom. It says, "This barbershop is dedicated to the memory of Eiona M. Southerland. Without her, there would be no haircuts, no products, and no barbershop. She is the mother of Civil Grooming." All right, how do you do this? All right, ready? 3, 2,